Okay. Thank you so much to those who have been able to join us live so far, and to those who will be joining us. And we are recording for our subscriber base for webinars. Women Built to Scale is a webinar series that we started early 2018. And basically the reason we started them, we were just wanting to dig into various topics about how to live, learn, and lead at a higher level. And we thought if we could just pull like-minded, cool women together once in a while and have purposeful conversation, that we could learn from each other in different areas. That's why we started the webinars, because it just sort of saved some effort and some convenience to having these conversations accessible for people who wanted them. So today, I'm really pleased to kick off our webinar called Whole Self Health. It's a whole self health reset for the fall. And I'm welcoming my good friend, Janna Shapero, who's joining us from Toronto this morning. And I'm gonna read you Janna's short bio, and then I'm just gonna open it up to her to introduce herself a little more fully. Janna Shapero has a company called Urban Healer. And we're gonna have an energizing conversation today about you and your relationship with your body, what that means, what a whole self-health reset could mean for you this fall. Janna empowers the stressed urban dweller to take better care of themselves, leading first by example. She is a clinical herbalist, holistic massage practitioner, and yoga instructor with a private in-home practice of 18 years. And I can definitely attest to that. Janna and I have been part of each other's lives for well over a decade as friends, collaborators, and two leaders that are always trying to better our own health as well as the health of those in our proximity, to encourage us to lead and live at a higher level. So Janna, thank you for being here today.
Thanks, Char. Happy to be here.
I'm thrilled. I'm just wondering if you want to add anything to that. Your introduction, it's a very formal, but yeah, what didn't I say? There's so much to know about you.
Well, I think you summed it up pretty good, but it's I've been on this path for a very long time. So it's not just a professional career path for me, it's also a personal path. I got involved in holistic health at the age of 15.
Wow.
When I went to see my first naturopath, and it opened my world up to start including some alternative approaches to my health. And so it began, a 30+ year journey into things like yoga and meditation, plant-based eating, a variety of different forms of healing, herbal medicine, shamanic healing. So it's my life story as well as my work. It's really kind of woven together. So yeah.
I think
a lot through many trials and tribulations, and so I think that what I bring to my work is based on a lot of personal experience.
Yeah, I think that sums it up really well. It's not just something that you do and you teach. It is so, like, that's what I know about you. It's so interwoven in you and your journey, and it comes through many modalities and explorations, and so it really is quite an integrated approach on all the levels of spiritual and physical and emotional and mental, which I love. So I asked Janna to be here today, and I couldn't honestly think of a better person to explore this conversation with, and hopefully enlighten all of us a little bit. So I'm going to kick off with our first. How I've set it up is basically we've got a couple of different questions that we're going to be exploring, a couple quick questions towards the end, and if we do have time, we're actually going to open it up for a couple of questions or comments from you guys as well, if we have the time. So please hang in there. And if you don't know where your chat box is on Zoom, find your little comments box so that we can, that we can interact with a little bit of discussion as well. So the first question that I wanted to discuss with Janna is, we're talking about this whole self-health reset. And I want to know right off the bat, how might you invite us to think about this differently rather than thinking about it the way that we always do? So we always seem to think about it in this certain box, which we label losing weight, the 10, 20 pounds we need to lose, or just the typical responses that you hear over and over again. And I wondered, how would you like to just open up our minds, blow our minds a little bit? How could we think about this differently this time around?
Okay, so it's the fall and we all kind of feel that need to get back into routine because it's been more of a holiday season. And I think the default is that we try to figure out what we need to do for our health using our ego rather than our soul. And that's the box, really, because the ego is really oriented towards safety and structure and conformity, and it's much more of a goal-oriented aspect of our personhood. But it can be very limiting in the way that we think about things and the way that we feel things. And so I think that, what I've been doing for my own health in recent times is taking a more soul-centered approach to my health and wellness, because I've also wanted to go through transformations in my life and over the last couple of years. And I tried different things. I looked for prescriptions through fitness and I looked for prescriptions through diet. I wanted to lose weight. I wanted to get more fit. I wanted to balance my hormones. But I found a lot of the things that I tried, I couldn't really stick with. And so I started to explore a different approach, which was more soul-centered, because I feel like, how do you really stick with something if it's not really coming from within, if you're not really passionate about it? So I think, the thing with, creating a new routine for ourselves and sort of looking at it through the filter of the ego is it's all of a sudden now another thing to add to your to-do list. It's another set of goals. It's another set of shoulds. It's another feeling of pressure to perform something to try to make yourself healthier. And I feel like that's more of a recipe for a disaster, because we may get results, we might not get results. It makes it a little harder to stick with because we already have a lot of things that we have to do in our lives already. So I feel that when it comes to looking after ourselves, it should generate itself from our soul. It should be something that lights us up and makes us feel passionate and alive, So yeah, Karen, you're going to say something.
I was just going to ask, can you give me an example of just, like a little flip for you?
Yeah,
from, ego, okay, I'm gonna cut out sugar or whatever. And then if you flipped it to a soul-centered approach or a way of thinking about it a little differently, what does that look or feel like to you?
So I have been working with a trainer for the past 5 years. I've discovered a very strong need to incorporate strength training into my life. And I just sort of kept making these 3-month hardcore efforts. I'm going to do this. And I had all these amazing exercises and equipment, and I would go hard at it. And then it would just crumble. It was just my dedication would be there for, a while, and I would be getting results. And then I would just lose speed because it was just getting too hard to keep up. I wasn't recovering properly. And I just, I lost my ability to maintain it. And it went on, and it just over and over again, I found that happening. And so last year, I just asked myself this question. It's like, I knew I wanted to lose weight and get fit, but I just didn't want to keep doing the same thing that wasn't working.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I switched my mindset over to, what is it that I really, really want? I want change. And I knew that I wanted to be outdoors. So I
Mm-hmm.
just started with that. I
Yeah.
was like, I don't care that it's fall going into winter. I want to be outdoors.
Right.
So I just put on appropriate clothing, and I started walking for an hour in a beautiful place, like
Mm-hmm.
4 times a week. And then I just kept adding to that. I went from just walking to including other things that challenged me more. And now I'm just finding that I'm choosing physical activities based on what excites me, what allows me to be outdoors, what doesn't tire me out, what makes me feel strong. I'm not trying to attain things that are going to burn me out,
Right.
I'm reaching for stuff that I know that I can achieve, and I'm doing it regularly all the time now.
Nice. Yeah.
So for me, it was like needing to exercise outdoors all the
Yeah.
time, because that lights me up.
Cool. Yeah. As you're talking through that, I can relate to it a little more. I mean, as you know, I've been a gym rat for a long time, but even the way that I think about it differently, now is a little different. When I go to do a morning workout, I don't go from that perspective of, okay, I got to go and train. I actually want to make sure I fit in some exercise in the morning to get my energy where it needs to be for the conversations I'm going to have that day. I want to approach the meetings, the conversations, the interactions, the encounters, like from a really, and if I don't go work out, I feel like my energy is still like right where it was when I first woke up. And so I actually go and train to get my energy where it needs to be. And then later in the day, like usually at the end of my day, which is around, 5 o'clock or whatever, I'll go for like a little walk, a 20-minute walk. Do I do it to reboost my metabolism again? Yes. However, I also do it from a place of I just need that mental, like I need to get rid of my day mentally. So I just walk and breathe and move and breathe and release. So I agree. It might look the same to the outside world, but to me, it comes from a very different place.
Right. Yeah. I find, so for me, it's like I want to exercise outdoors. It could be cycling, it could be, now I'm going rock climbing outdoors next weekend. I want to get into paddling.
Nice.
And at the same time, my body is aging. So when I do the things that I'm truly passionate about that come from my soul, I recognize that my knee hurts, oh, my shoulder hurts. And so then I want to come back and do my strength training, because it allows me to do the things that I really, really want to do and be stronger at it and just keep progressing. So
yeah. And that's a really important, clarification, like to just, now you're motivated to do the strength training because it allows you to enjoy those activities that you really want to experience and get into, like the kayaking and different things. So yeah, that's very cool. I'm going to take it, I think, to the next level of the conversation with that, our second question. And one of the things I put on the information about today was, I think that there is a way to take our commitment to our personal leadership to a whole new experience. So by making a deeper commitment to our own health and wellness and well-being, and just like literally to a cellular level, I think that there is a way to take our experience in leadership to a whole new level. And I'm curious on your thoughts on this. Like, I think we've had conversations in the past where, why isn't there a stronger link between strong bodies and strong leaders? Why isn't there, like when a young woman's in university taking leadership courses, why is there not more, like, why isn't there a strong leaders, personal wellness 101 right in there? Because in my experience, like I know that the stronger we feel in our bodies, the stronger we feel in our lives, the more confident we are. But I feel like for women, we continue to keep the wellness and self-care and the fitness over here in this little silo that we try to make time for. And then we're over here like trying to be really good leaders and trying to like go into a boardroom and be confident. And it's like, do you know, if your core was stronger and if you did some deep breathing this morning, you would kick butt in that meeting you're about to walk into? But there's such a divide, right? Anyway, I'm curious on your thoughts around that. Like, how do we get more integration between those two conversations?
Yeah, no, it's a good question to ask, and I don't personally struggle with that, but I see a lot of women around me struggling with that, and I think the key is that it's sort of, I think it's just conditioning that we have as women, which we don't realize. It's happening on a subconscious level that we're multitaskers and we want to look after everybody, right? So we're going to keep taking those emails and we're going to keep taking those phone calls and we're going to keep, trying to make everybody happy, with all the different goals that we've set out for ourselves, and just constantly put off eating a proper meal and constantly put off working out. And somehow we've tied our worth and our power as leaders to give, and it's like that thing every time, that safety thing, every time you get on an airplane where they tell you that you have to put on your oxygen mask before you give it to your child, right? Like, you fundamentally have to look after yourself if you want to be a leader, if you want to be working cooperatively with different teams of people and you want to uplift other people. Eventually you're going to burn out if you feel like you can just do everything for everybody all the time. And I think that's what women tend to do. And then they come home and they look after their families and their husbands and their household on top of everything else. So
Can you think of any examples? And I'm just curious, like maybe you can't, I don't want to put you on the spot, but can you think of any examples of people that you've worked with in over your career where as they started taking care of themselves physically, making that more of a commitment and an intention, where they would walk in and tell you about some pretty significant decisions or life transformation, and where they weren't really putting the two together, but like it was happening simultaneously. They're getting in better shape, or they're taking better care of themselves, and their life is greatly improving.
Yeah, I actually can't think of anybody immediately off the top of my head, like in terms of a sort of in a female leadership position. But I do know that, I guess what I have seen is that, I think once you start to engage with taking care of yourself, that you're also engaging a more intentional form of awareness.
Maybe that's what I'm kind of circling around. I think that's your awareness level heightens a bit more. I know, when we used to work together at our studio, and I do these 12-week transformations with clients, it was kind of interesting because it was a shorter period of time, so their focus could be right on it for those 12 weeks. But I can't tell you how many times those clients, by the end of 12 weeks, some other very significant decision had taken place at the same time. They decided to start a business, or go back to school, or maybe leave, like exit out of, you know, a relationship or friendship that was no longer serving them. And it was fascinating to kind of watch those things happen.
Yeah, you're getting into the change framework.
Mm-hmm.
When you start asking yourself what you need to feel energetic and to feel healthy, you're engaging with that change framework way of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
You're opening the door to change, and one simple thing that you do that's different, whether it's exercise or the way that you're eating or meditating for 10 minutes every day, whatever it is, it's opening the door, and a lot of other things can come into that door because we're very habitual creatures. And so once we open the door to change, it's like all of a sudden that intuitive awareness starts flooding through, and we just know what we got to do,
Mm-hmm.
because we already knew what we had to do.
Yeah.
We just didn't open the door and let that awareness
Yeah.
come through.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
No.
the thing that was there, and that knowledge is there. We don't have to read a book to figure out how we have to change our diet. We already know. You just take one step and connect to it, and many changes tend to follow after that.
Mm-hmm. Let's take that part of the conversation a bit further, because I think we're ready to maybe start to push into some more tactile, so women are wanting to take a step to put more focus and intention into their health and their wholeness this fall. It sounds to me like you're saying, that first step is you actually know what to do. You just need to tune in.
Right.
I'm wondering if you can explore that a bit further, and maybe kind of give us some framework. Like if you were, chatting with a new client or whatnot, like where would you start? How would you maybe explore this differently? What would be a couple of things to kind of keep top of mind as you're embarking on, say, just looking at the next quarter? I'm a big quarter person. I like to take 90 days sort of at a time and then kind of have a look and see how it went, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna say, I'm gonna mention something called open focus. And it's a concept that was developed by a doctor by the name of Les Femi, and it's a biofeedback approach to dealing with pain. But it's also really a kind of a mindfulness technique as well. So how do you discover what you already know? Well, you kind of have to kind of make some space for that. And so, I mean, one small thing, an initial step might be just giving yourself a period of time every day where you don't turn on devices. You don't look at it, you don't touch it, you don't interact with any devices, and have some kind of space that you create an open focus in. So it could be an activity, it could just be doing nothing. But open focus is not about goal setting. It's not about to-do lists.
Right.
It's about having a gentle focus that also includes the periphery. It also includes the space around you. It includes the world. It includes nature, It includes creativity. It includes art. It includes intuition. So, you could do some kind of activity that lights up your soul, whether it's walking in nature, whether it's journaling, whether it's art, whether it's cycling, whatever it is that you're like, I just want to do this, And in that space, just allow yourself to have an open focus, to sort of put your feelers out and allow yourself to want the things that you want and to move towards the things that you naturally, organically want to move towards. And just let the resistance towards it dissolve, because the inner guidance will just come flooding in about what you need to do next, You don't need to do a list of 10 things that you should be doing this fall. You need one thing that lights you up, that's healthy, and that can open your soul up to the other steps that you need to take in your life right now. And it'll happen just one step at a time. So it's maybe that's a mindfulness practice, the open focus, you know, to open the door.
I know that one of the ways a friend and colleague, Tina, opens that door, and she's had me kind of play with that a little bit, is just in my morning journaling, just writing notes to myself, you know, like, dear Charlene, what would you have me know today? And just letting whatever comes up for me, just, you know, writing it out as a morning note to myself as a way to tune in. Because I think sometimes we're so busy looking externally at what someone else is doing and the latest this or that we forget, you know. That's why I love your point, you know, like, we forget that the answers we need are already there. We just have to spend some time with ourselves, right?
Yeah. So, you know, like, you know, to give a bit more of a kind of practical example, like, people will say to me something to the effect of, you know, I really need to eat more fruits and vegetables. I know that I need to have like more fiber and more whole foods in my diet.
Right.
You know, and like, that's like a goal that you'll probably not really end up achieving, because it's just a thing that your ego is telling you that you should be doing, and you know you should, but you just, you know, keep buying the bread and the potato chips, and the veggies don't end up in the shopping cart, right? And so maybe it's not about that. Maybe it's not about eating more fruits and veggies. Maybe it's about needing to feel more connection with the food you eat. You know, maybe it's about needing to feel more connected to how the food you're eating makes you feel. You know, so it might be a different journey. Like, it might be like, that week, just let's go to the farmer's market and talk to some farmers and find out about, you know, how they grow the food. Or let's go to a cooking class with 12 other amazing, beautiful women who want to get more excited about cooking. Or, you know, maybe it's about that. It's about connecting with your health. And like-minded people.
Yeah.
You know, I should eat more fruits and veggies. Well, you know, It's just doesn't work. That's not a formula that works.
Right.
We're just like punishing ourselves. Oh, you haven't been eating your fruits and vegetables all summer. You know, you've just been eating barbecue and hamburgers and pizza, and it's like,
well, I know for me, a big shift happened when I started to make that correlation between what I was putting in, like when I started to make that shift from my food equals my fuel, you know, and when I ate this, wow, like, I felt like this. When I ate this, I felt like this. Not to say that there aren't days when I just totally eat, like, for the pure, you know, and I may not feel so great after what I've partaken in. But for the most part, when I made that shift of fuel, my food is my fuel, and it's how I operate. It directly affects my energy and how I come across during the day. That was a pretty significant shift for me. And I'm wondering if there are a couple of things, like, as if you're, you know, thinking about the next 90 days and you're, you know, kind of giving a bit of guidance to women that are having to look at a reset, what would a couple of your things be? So we've got that open focus, just that mindfulness, tuning in, listening. For me, one of mine would be like just starting to really appreciate my food as my fuel. What would a couple more of yours, like more tactile things, be?
Well, you know, I have been quite passionate about intermittent fasting over the past year because it's been very transformative for me. I think one of the great lessons that I've taken away from that is, you know, also once that really good food gets into your body, allowing your body to digest it fully, you know? So I think sometimes we just keep piling food into our system because it is like a little blanket over uncomfortable feelings, over stress and stuff. And sometimes it's good to just allow your system to empty out, and it really allows for a new awareness, you know, that it's the same idea of just creating some more empty space.
Yeah, you know? Interesting how that, interesting how that parallel between the open focus, creating space, and maybe allowing a little bit of time for your food to like fully digest and just creating some space, right? Yeah, that's an interesting parallel. Intermittent fasting, is there anything else that you want to say about that one, or do you want to move on to a couple of other, like if you were kind of naming your biggest I don't want to say priorities, but biggest, just things to maybe have people, take a look at or consider for the fall?
I would say, I think that the fall is a natural transition towards a more internal hibernation period. And so I think that it's a time where people can become a little bit more sort of down in their spirit. And so I think looking for activities that sort of have that nourishing quality, that allow you to sort of move your focus more internally. And, that's my sense is, there is in the fall season, things, nature trees lose their leaves and plants die back, and so where is that nourishment going to be coming from now? So it's more becomes an internal nourishment. So that's where you want to ask yourself, like, what are you truly passionate about? For me personally, I still, this year, because I started a cycle where I want to be outdoors all year round. I don't want to be afraid of the cold.
Right.
So I want to take my exercise and I want to take the stuff that I do to make me feel better outdoors. Right. And be creative with that and find new ways. So I encourage people to do that. Like another thing people go through is they are like the nature deficit syndrome, because now it's going to be, winterizing your life and being indoors all the time. But there's not really a rule about that. It's just because you don't have proper outer apparel. Right. Or it's like, who goes out and does stuff in the cold voluntarily? Well,
yeah. Well, one thing that I definitely learned from you that I think would be on my top 3 list. So food as fuel would be one. The second thing I would say would be, and I learned it from you, is eat for the seasons.
Yeah.
Like it is fall, and even in the last few days, I'm surprised, but even in the last couple of days, I've already started to crave warmer veggies, more, whereas a week or two ago, I was all about the salads, right? So I'm really, really trying to just listen to that. And so what is clean, tasty, healthy, yummy food? What does that look like now coming into September? Yeah.
Yeah, I do actually emphasize that quite a bit in my own life and in my practice. So, I'm glad that you brought that up. So with seasonal eating, I think with the fall, we start to move away from raw foods and more towards cooked foods. But in the fall season in particular, there's, as I said, there's like a kind of, you're coming in. You're coming in from a more very outdoor expanded place. So it's a contractive season. And it's also, I don't know what it's like out west anymore, I forgot, but here it's kind of more windy and dry. So the fall is a time where you want to incorporate more healthy fats to start kind of like, almost in a sense, cushioning the nervous system, to warm up the body, and eating foods that facilitate that contractive phase of the season. So contractive foods would be soured and fermented.
Mm.
Does that make sense? So pickled foods,
Yep.
fermented foods, and then foods that now you start cooking things more, like roasting and stewing and slow cooking, and using oils in a healthy way in how you're preparing foods, as opposed to all these like salads and juices and
Right.
melons and things that are very cooling, and moving towards more of the warming foods, warming spices, ginger tea, whatever, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But in terms of traditional medicine, fats and contractive soured or fermented foods help you adjust to the season. It actually helps you, prevents you from, being as vulnerable to cold and flu, if you facilitate the body that way. For more practical advice.
Yeah. I think if I was thinking about my, so my third thing, if food is fuel would be my first one. Eating for the seasons would be my second one. My third, and it's probably a little bit of a rant, but it would be around, there's no cookie cutter approach.
No.
I think we're so looking like, and it really has become apparent for me moving into 50. And I know that you and I have talked about this, and I've been really grateful for your guidance over the last couple of months. But what works for one person is not necessarily, that's what's so cool about us. We're each individuals, we're each unique. And so it's taken me playing with bits and pieces and really just spending some time with myself to figure out, okay, what does Char's body at 50 want? Like, it isn't the body that I had at 30. It doesn't digest like the body I had at 30. It doesn't train like the body I had at 30. And by the way, you need to stretch way more during your workouts when you're 50. Your intensity levels have to adjust, right?
Everybody always says to me, "Oh, I never stretch before a workout." I'm like, well, you should start trying to do that, because it's like, for some reason, trainers always advise against it. And I'm like, not a good idea, especially if you've got injuries from head to toe and arthritis and no. Like, you got to. Sure.
I swear to God, people at the gym must look at me, because I swear that I'm stretching at least as much as I'm training now. But anyway, I digress. But I just wanted to kind of, to say that for a minute, because I think we're so quick to look on social media and, just that blanket approach with, keto or intermittent fasting or this shake or that, and it's like, I really have to just try, and what is my body like? How am I going to metabolize and assimilate and absorb the best foods possible,
Yeah. So, circling back to what I was talking about originally is, that's why when you're looking to create a new approach to health and wellness, maybe starting some new routines for yourself, the reason I talk about a more soul-centered approach is specifically because there is no cookie cutter answer. There is no secret to a flat belly. It's your own journey, and you've got to figure that out. I mean, you want to take advice from experts and from friends who've had success, but you have to filter it through your own internal experience. You have to start learning to listen. That's why that is actually such an important step. But I will sort of give an example. Like I have a background in Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine as part of my herbal medicine training. And so we look at constitution, not only for how to treat someone with herbs, but also what kind of a lifestyle that they need to live. So, a friend of mine was just, he is actually a person, big boned, very fleshy. And he just really wanted to lose weight, but he just kept doing the yo-yo thing. And I said, you know, based on your constitution, you might be much more successful on a plant-based diet. And eventually that kind of information that filtered in, and he became vegan. And he's finally gotten like 30 pounds off and kept it off now for quite a long time. And he's just slowly getting slimmer and slimmer. Now, I would probably just get sick and perish on a vegan diet because I'm wired differently. I've always been a skinny, kind of high metabolism person, which unfortunately I've lost a lot of that as I've gotten older, but I need a different kind of nourishment. I need more fats and proteins in my diet for the functioning of my nervous system, you know? And so that's what I mean by, you know, different people need different diets. I wouldn't do well on a vegan diet, you know? So
Yeah.
that's where you have to just stop listening to the hype and figure out from within what it is that you need for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I so agree. I do have one more kind of bit, you know, group question that I want to finish off with before we close today. But I think we have about 10 minutes or so. And so I just wanted to get people thinking, if you have a question or a comment or something that you'd like to dig into a little bit, I encourage you to use the chat. And I'm happy to unmute you to ask it. You know, I think there's a way to put your hand up as well. But if you have something that you'd like to talk about or to ask a question, I'm just going to kind of leave that with you for a couple of minutes and go on and ask Janna one more question. But go ahead and use the chat, or I'm happy to unmute you if I can tell that you've got something you want to chat about. So Janna, sorry for the background noise if you can hear that. My last kind of formal question is, if women could lead in a very, very powerful way, which I believe they can, and also practice complete wholeness, because right now it sort of feels at times like an either or. It's like we're trading off, you know, we're trading off that leadership position or initiative or mission, and we're kind of risking our health and our wholeness a little bit. But if we could lead and also be happy and whole at the same time, and how might the world change if we could totally master that dance between the two?
Well, I think that, you know, as women, we have our own form of power. We have something particular and unique that we bring to the world. And I think ultimately it's more collaborative. It's more cooperative. We're about the group. We're not just about ourselves. But then if we don't actually take care of ourselves, we burn out. And what I see is a lot of women very quietly burning out. You know, they keep it to themselves. They tuck it away. They don't really show it to their kids or their husband or whoever, but they're just slowly burning out. But it's really happening across the board, you know? It's not just you and it's not just me who's burning out. It's like women are just getting stuck in a paradigm that's not for women, you know? And we really, to really let our power come forth and to shine as collaborators, you know, to bring other people up to the level that we're at, you know, to help other people shine, we have to look after ourselves, you know? So to me, the idea is that it's sustainability. If we want to create sustainability in the world, if we want to move away from this consumptive, you know, destructive society that we've created, we have to create our power based on sustainability. And how can you sustain your power as a leader if you're not looking after yourself?
Yeah.
You know, what is it that you're role modeling? You know? So I feel that that's how we can change the world.
Yeah, I think I've so wholeheartedly agree. And I think it comes back to, we've got to bring the conversation between lifestyle and leadership together, and not recognize it as two different things or two opposite things. I love what you said about sustainability. Like it's got to start with ourselves first. And I had a pretty big wake up call a few years ago that I think you know about, and that was just my iron levels just hitting rock bottom after menstruating for many years, and no one. This is after you'd already moved to Toronto, but no one ever mentioning to me that there comes a point in a woman's life where her cycles are so heavy that there's just no way that you're going to eat the amount of iron, that you're going to eat the amount of iron, that you would need to not keep them plummeting. And so here I am, continuing to work hard and exercise and do what I do, and I literally hit the wall a few years ago, and it was a real wake up call about my own sustainability and what I needed to do differently. So it's I think women get those wake up calls because your body's just wanting you to reach out and think about things differently. But
I think the thing is a woman's power is not being all things to all people and always getting everything done. That's not where our power is. We don't have to get everything done. We can do less and actually be better at what we do.
Yeah. We had a question in from Jasmine, and I just wanted to reflect it to you. As someone who is interested in intermittent fasting, is there anything that you could suggest, even as a starting point? And I had someone else ask me this actually just recently, without getting roped into something online, or just is there? I know that you've written a good article on your own website that I'm happy to share again, and also she's looking for you to reflect on, what did that process most importantly, what is it given to you, and what did you find that it was really important about it for you? Okay. So I'll just leave it at that.
Sure. Yeah. So, well, there was a lot that came out of it, to be honest with you. I think in terms of getting started with intermittent fasting is start with something simple and easy, just to get a feeling for it. And also know that I think for women, intermittent fasting is different than it is for men. And I think that so a woman has to be a little bit more thoughtful about how she approaches it, because your body is going to go through changes hormonally. Your digestion is going to go through changes, your energy levels. So for me, the very first thing that happened when I took it seriously was bloating gone, like end of bloating. I didn't even know that I was bloated, because all these women come to me to ask me for help with bloating. And I never had, I mean, sometimes if I ate a huge meal, I'd be like, oh my God, I'm so bloated. Or it was the day before my period or something.
Right.
But when I started intermittent fasting, I was like, oh, I've just been bloated all this time and I had no idea.
Yeah.
Just the whole thing just went. And then my mind became very clear. And it was it's this thing where you're just constantly shoving food into your body. And as your body is processing, digesting, and metabolizing, it's like letting off all this byproduct. And then your body's dealing with the byproduct, your liver and your kidneys, and everything's always working to process all the stuff we're shoving into our system. But if you actually give yourself a period that's long enough to fully digest everything you've eaten for that day, wow, there's just so much more energy. My energy levels just balanced out. I never got tired in the afternoon. My hormones started to balance. I lost weight. and it was effortless. The weight loss, it did take a little while to kick in for me. Like, I think it's different with everybody, but so I feel like that was such a big thing for me to realize, like, I wasn't actually digesting my food.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really I think it was messing with my insulin levels, and it was messing with my hormones in terms of like estrogen, progesterone.
Mm-hmm.
And we just don't even realize, we don't realize. And I think one of the things that was interesting for me in my research was that intermittent fasting in a way mimics how hunter-gatherers sort of metabolized energy in their body, because we have two systems for energy. We have a glucose system and a fatty acid system. And so that glucose system is our quick energy system. We eat, our glucose levels immediately go up. You know what I mean? But the fatty acid system kicks in when we're in starvation or famine. The body has a built-in ability to flex from one system to the other. So for example, if you were living more naturally close to the earth, summer and fall, you would have an abundance of food. It would be like a feasting time of the year.
Mm-hmm.
But in winter and early spring, it would probably be, you would be more in a famine phase where you'd have to adjust to eating less, for example. So the body has this built-in way of moving back and forth into these two metabolic states. And so basically what happens when you allow yourself to fast for a period of time on a regular basis, you not only digest all the food you've eaten, but then you start digesting some of that excess fat on your body.
Mm-hmm.
And you're detoxing, because all the toxins that you're not processing properly get stored in your fat. And so you're not only getting rid of, you're letting go of so much stuff. You're allowing all that's just been sitting in your system to finally process. Now, I had a few kind of side effects from doing it. So I had to kind of ease up here and there. I've taken the summer off. I'm starting back into the intermittent fasting. So I think everybody does have to find their own way with it and sort of listen to your body.
Mm-hmm.
I also found that there was a difference between real hunger and hunger hormones. Real hunger was when I was starting to get kind of spaced out and losing my mental focus. Fake hunger was when I got like those growlies in my stomach.
Right. Yeah.
Just that gnawing, put food in. I'm used to having food now. Give me food. And then you just ignore it. And then 2 minutes later, you're like, oh, I'm not even hungry.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's kind of fun you learn a lot.
Well, I love what you said about just don't be afraid to create some space for yourself, on all levels, and create, that includes creating space between, when we're shoving food in our mouth, and give our bodies a chance to catch up. And I definitely will attach your article as we, send out the recording to our list of webinar people, but I'll attach your article again. We're getting fairly close to the end of our hour, and I do want to respect your time as well as these good people's time that are on with us live. I just wondered if someone wants to connect with you further, reach out to you further, what's two things? What's the best way to connect with you? And also, is there anything that you have coming up this fall that you want to let people know about, and maybe there's not? What's the best way for people to connect with you or follow what you're up to?
Well, probably the best way is to visit my website and either communicate with me directly or sign up to my newsletter. This fall, I'm going to be putting out some videos about working with pain in terms of herbal medicine, and also building immunity for fall and winter season, and more practical steps for how to incorporate herbs into your everyday life, because a lot of people are interested, but they really don't know where to start, how to use them. You know what I mean? How to use
Mm-hmm.
them effectively. So I'm going to be doing some videos on that as well.
Great. And remind us of your website, because I want to make sure that I get the dot after part correct. So urbanhealer.ca.
.ca.
Okay, great. I will definitely make sure and share Janna's website and where to follow her online if you're on social media, and as well her intermittent fasting article. Any other questions come up for you or from the group that you'd like us to explore further, please feel free to send them in, because I will just ask Janna to answer those questions online through social media. And but thank you very much for being here today to the group. And also, Janna, thank you for taking an hour out of your busy day to be with us and have this chat.
For you, Shar. Love you, and thank you all for coming and joining the discussion. And I hope there's a little piece of inspiration in that for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. You guys have a great day, and hope to see and hear from you soon.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.